perfectly points out why all this man hate has women lonelier than ever. Make sure you like on this video, subscribe so you can keep bringing these folks to life.
Men don't actually want relationships.
You wanted equality, and now you're complaining that they don't want to be in a relationship with you. Equality also means the same. And since these men are not gay, why would they want to be in a relationship with another man? So you got your equality, and now they don't want to be in a relationship with you because you bring nothing to the table. You're basically men. They use you for one thing now. Of course they do, because that's what makes them not gay. But everything else, you're just like a guy. So they don't want to be in a relationship with a guy, otherwise they would be gay. And since they're not, they don't want to be in a relationship with you. You're not respectful. You don't give them peace. Maybe try being kind and sweet and nice, and don't bring drama into their lives, and don't try to change them. Accept them for who they are and believe in them. And then they'll want to be in a relationship with you.
My name's According, and if you enjoyed this, leave a
All right, so first off, I just want to say I'm not a big fan of either of the or any of the people on those videos, and I'm not typically a fan of kind of the clickbait titles of the original clip, which I'll link below. And I think the first thing is that it's tricky to make broad statements across entire demographics because obviously we're humans and there can be a lot of variety, a lot of exceptions, and a lot of unique expressions to certain things. There's also the fact where there is a bell curve of things, and a lot of us tend to fall into that big area of the majority, which is why a lot of people can make generalizations, which of course will have exceptions, sure. And I think one thing that I want to make abundantly clear from the beginning is that no one should be harassed or condescended to or looked down upon based on their gender or sexual preference. And to me, this is something that even when I was a very little kid, I didn't really understand these things. I always thought it was quite stupid when people were treated poorly or differently based on their gender, race, or sexual preference. Because for some reason, maybe I'm just an idiot, but I realized from a young age that pretty much anyone from any demographic can be an asshole. Like, there's no demographic where people are not assholes. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? And there's really being stupid or being unintelligent or making poor decisions, I think, is truly a transcendental human quality, meaning it's stretched out across all of time, across all of the planet, and is not limited to any race, sex, gender, culture, or demographic. Seems to be truly transcendental. And again, I know I'm kind of dumb, but that was just something that was kind of obvious to me as a kid. So it always just seemed kind of stupid to assume that a person's race, gender, or sexual preference was the causative factor that made them a good person or not. And I just say that because in modern times, allegedly, we're very intelligent and we're very evolved and we're very not primitive, right? But unfortunately, it seems like people struggle with these basic distinctions and for some reason confuse correlation and causation and confuse these different nuances of dealing with people, which is, of course, particularly relevant if we're talking about dynamics between men and women or anyone that's trying to have a romantic relationship. And obviously, I'm just using the criteria for men and women because I'm a guy that dates women and I've only ever dated women. So that's all I know and all I can really relate to. So before people jump on me for that, that's why that's occurring. So from what I've seen over the years, men blame women for why they treat women poorly, and women blame men for why they treat men poorly. A guy treats a girl poorly because a girl treated him poorly. A girl treats a guy poorly because a guy treated her poorly. And then the cycle just keeps going on and on and on and on. Or maybe it's some variation of their mom, a guy whose mom treated him poorly, or vice versa. And the common denominator that I've seen there is it's, of course, everyone else's fault. Everyone else is to blame. And it's just sort of this ephemeral, otherworldly thing that we are just kind of victim and subject to. And it's rare that a person would take accountability or responsibility for their choices or their actions because it's society's fault, it's culture's fault, or marketing, or it's capitalism, or it's hormones, or it's genetics, or it's evolution. It's all of those reasons why the person is choosing to behave in a way or choosing to carry a chip on their shoulder and choosing to kind of prejudge people based on their belonging to a certain group. And it's so odd to me that such basic fundamentals of relationship are considered offensive or touchy or triggering. Because I can see a lot of truth in what both people in the video are saying. Um, the first lady talking about, oh, men don't want relationships and whatever. I can see that because I can see a lot of guys these days are quite immature, quite selfish, quite directionless, quite weak, quite passive, and generally a bit lost in their lives, content to just play video games or be out of shape, be um, overweight, have poor diet, have no real direction or purpose or aim in their life, treat people poorly, take advantage of people, and just more or less exhibit a lot of childish behaviors in an adult body and think that that's fine and okay and somehow a virtue. I can see that. And I could spend hours going over that topic. And I feel that it would be pretty rare that anyone would really have any issue with me doing that. But if I mention that I've seen a lot of immature, selfish, entitled, misguided, bitter, and angry women, then of course now people are going to start taking offense and having a lot of problems with that, which is why I'm probably not going to be doing that, even though I could spend an equal amount of time going over guys and or girls and guys because I can see both dynamics. But the reality is that both points of view here are true, and the only way that anything will change, in my opinion, is when people start taking some degree of personal responsibility and some degree of accountability. And perhaps someday I hope people will be a bit more intelligent and realize that prejudging a person based on their gender is ignorant. Whether you're if you're a guy prejudging a girl or a girl prejudging a guy, it's just ignorance. That's all it is. It's not a virtue. It's not a justification. It's not a sign of progress. It is ignorance. It is a lower form of intelligence. It is a lower form of being a human being, and it's not something to be proud of. Saying that someone is better or worse because of their gender is obviously stupid. In the same way, to say that there are not differences between the two genders is obviously stupid. And I just wish people would kind of somehow move past these trivial, basic ideas and maybe start having more meaningful, useful, productive conversations rather than arguing, is Coke or Pepsi better? It's like, well, maybe they're both manufactured products that have negative consequences. So maybe let's have a different conversation. Maybe let's move forward into something a bit more useful and productive and constructive. Maybe start with judging people based on their character and the validity of their ideas and the actual merits of their behavior. And maybe start seeing yourself in that way and stop blaming everything and everyone else for however things might happen to be in that moment. And then from there, maybe things start to improve, because people will blame the external world, but then not realize that internally they're doing the same things to themselves. They're diminishing their own value and their own worth and treating themselves internally in a pretty unkind, ridiculous manner that they then blame on the external world, or they then allow themselves to get taken advantage of. So for these reasons, I can see the validity in both sides of what people are saying. And it's shocking to me that a lot of people would be offended by the notions put past or put up by the second lady, meaning like, be nice, be kind, contribute a positive thing, be supportive. And it's kind of just like, if you're in a relationship with someone, regardless of who it is, why would you not do that? Whether it's romantic, platonic, familial, why? Life is short. Why would you not try to be at least supportive and kind? Of course, we're all humans and we have bad days and we're not perfect. I understand that. But in general, the majority of the time, why would that not be your intention? Why would you go into a relationship not wanting to add value to that person's life, not wanting to support them and help them and be kind to them, be nice to them at least? Obviously, of course, that should be reciprocated. That should be a two-way street. It shouldn't be a dynamic where you're just a doormat or you're just getting taken advantage of, or, subservient to this person. No. But it's strange to me that people would have this attitude that's anything other than that. And I can tell you, I've encountered quite a lot of people over the years who those basic ideas, those basic concepts would be triggering or offensive or upsetting. And I'm just like, why? Like, like, what's the definition of entitlement? What's the definition of immaturity? I would say it's going into a situation solely and exclusively focused on what's in it for you and what you're going to get, and having no consideration or reflection upon what you're going to be willing to contribute, what you're going to give, what you're going to be willing to do to make something happen. Because I see a lot of people that have all these lists of demands and expectations and things that they want from a partner, from a relationship. But it's like, well, okay, well, what's your corollary thing that you're going to give, that you're going to do? And I can share another interesting anecdote where I was listening to an interview with a guy who owned a webcam business, basically, and they had all infrastructure built up. And he was saying the biggest thing that people assume is that it's like all sexual, and that's what these guys are paying for. Because let's face it, the vast majority of people paying for the webcam stuff are guys in America. And he was saying it's guys from all demographics: successful, rich, wealthy, and then of course, dudes in their basement and their mom's basement playing video games all day. Like, it's a range. It's not just one or the other. But he was saying the biggest thing that these guys are paying for is not the sex. It's actually just someone being kind to them. Remember, even though it's all fake, but and they may not know that, or maybe they're in denial of it or whatever, but basically someone just being kind to them, being nice to them, remembering random details about their life, having an interest in their life, having an interest in what they're going through. Oh, how's this project going? Or, oh, how's this thing? Or this thing you mentioned last week that was going to happen this week, how did it go? Those just basic avenues of human connection are what people are genuinely paying for, um, the vast majority of the time, which is quite sad, tragic and sad and pathetic and disheartening and ridiculous. But then if we look at the dynamics kind of illustrated in the stupid, ridiculous video that I'm reacting to now, then I can really see that how that would come about. And I can tell you just the overwhelming amount of just defensive, hateful, judgmental, prejudiced, bigoted, unkind, selfish, entitled females that I've met in Portland in particular over the last 8 years is truly staggering. Obviously, I've met a lot of great people as well. Not all of the women that I've met are in that category. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying. But a pretty overwhelming amount falls into that category, and spending any amount of time on any online dating app makes that immediately apparent. And of course, I could find just as many probably bad things to say about guys, but I don't date guys, so I don't really have that experience. Can only speaking on one side of it, of course. But it's really speaks to the dynamics that I was talking about here. And like I said, it comes back to, I think, people taking some degree of accountability and responsibility and just some basic self-reflection, developing some basic degree of morality, of conscience, of integrity, and living their life from that place rather than just having a chip on their shoulder and blaming society and culture and all these other external factors, which of course has validity. But at a certain point, as humans, we have to take some degree of responsibility. So hopefully that makes sense and has been entertaining or useful. Talk to you soon.